relax. The sea can be deep for our diving. Hope comes and stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
The views and opinions expressed on Trudging Together are solely those of the host, co-host, and our guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization, fellowship, or other entity, and definitely not your boss, your neighbor, or that one guy in your home group. The content of this program is not intended to replace medical, psychological, or professional advice. If you're looking for that, please seek guidance from qualified professionals who spent way too many years in school. What you'll hear here is based on lived experience, recovery journeys, and the occasional bad coffee-fueled joke. Trudging Together is not affiliated with any 12-step fellowship. We are simply people sharing our stories and walking this path together, one day at a time. Thank you for joining us. And remember, recovery is serious business, but that doesn't mean we can't laugh along the way.
We're back. Back in the saddle again. Oh, that worked out. Amber says, I was literally pulling up YouTube to find a podcast to listen to. All right. Looks like I got decent timing today. Taking a little break. I got a good chunk of my disability paperwork done. It is the number one priority right now. But like everything else in my life, my forgetter works really good. And I forget that it's a priority. I just got kind of a confusing email. So I'm trying to figure it out, right? So, give me a second here. 1 second here. So this email is that I don't understand it because Adams County owes me some money. They owe me some money. And they said, I said, I sent you an email earlier this week, have not gotten a response, nor has payment been made. And she said, hi, Dion, we're supposed to have a meeting today, but it was canceled, and they're always canceled. Leadership has advised that moving forward, payment will only be going to individuals that are not associated with a company or business and has direct work and chip plans. I'm the only one in that group that's like that. So I don't know what, but at the same time, so we'll see. I'm stepping down from that. Yeah. All right. Hey, Maylin, it's good to see you. So we're going to be in the language of the heart. I have not read any of this, so I have no idea if they're talking about the big book. I'm presuming they are. All right. So this is going to be new to you. It might not be new to you. Maybe you read it before. But it is kind of new to me. Well, I haven't read it before. I'm pretty familiar with how the big book came out and stuff does. So let's get started. The book is born October 1945, which means the big book had been out for 6 years. All right. In recent Grapevine articles, attention has been drawn to the fact that AA is still in the process of forming a public relations policy that failure to crystallize a sound policy could still cripple us. Now, this is 1945, which means the traditions were not out yet. The traditions didn't come out till 1950 in our first World Conference. You liked it? Yeah, I love this book too. Yeah, if you're getting into your program, you're looking for other stuff to read, Language of the Heart is a fantastic book. It's got some, especially if you're a history buff. Yeah, and I like knowing the history because I like learning from it so I don't repeat it. All right. During the first 3 years of AA, no one gave a thought to public relations. How? It was a time of flying blind when we feverishly sought the principles on which we might stay sober and assist the few alcoholics who came around wanting to do likewise. We were entirely preoccupied with the life and death question of personal recovery It was strictly a man-to-man affair. We hadn't even agreed upon a name for our movement. There was no literature. By the fall of 1937, we could count what looked like 40 recovered members. One of us had been sober 3 years, another 2.5, and a fair number had a year or more behind them. All of us had been hopeless cases. This amount of time elapsed to be significant. Now, they didn't have old timers. The people with 3 years were the old timers. All right. Now, thankfully, they probably had some people from the Oxford group, maybe the Washingtonians, that kind of went to these groups to help out. All right. Let's remember that, we took a lot of our information from the Oxford group, right? Who is still around. Oxford group is still around. The realization that we had found something began to take hold of us. No longer were we a dubious experiment. Alcoholics could stay sober, great numbers perhaps. While some of us had always clung to the possibility, the dream now had real substance. If 40 alcoholics could recover, why not 400, 4,000, or even 40,000? Right? Now, and that sounds, even to this day, that sounds like a pretty big number, huh? It's because it is. That's a lot. All right. Do you have 40 people in your home group? Right. So, of course, back then there weren't, 15 groups to choose at 5:30. There was one, right? So once this spectacular notion gripped us, our thinking underwent a sudden change. Our alcoholic's imagination certainly had a field day. By temperament, most of us are salesmen, promoters. So we began talking very big. Mere boxcar numbers wouldn't do it. We went astronomical. Undoubtedly, we said this was the beginning of one of the greatest medical, religious, and social developments of all time. God, they sure let it go to their head, didn't they? But, I get it. I get it. Because sometimes I feel the same way with what I have. I'm like, man, if everybody could have what I have, what a great world, man. What a great world. Right? So, all right. We would show the medical profession and sky pilots where they got off. 1 million alcoholics in America, more millions all over the world. Why? We had only had to sober up all these boys and girls and sell them God, whereupon they would revolutionize society. A brand new world with ex-drunks running it. Just think of that, folks. Yeah, I don't think I'd want that. I don't think I'd want a bunch of ex-alkies running the world. I don't. That would just be confusion. Hey, Leisure, good to see you. Right? And who are we to go start telling doctors and everybody else how to start doing their job? Right? Imagine that Alcoholics Anonymous got big enough and started telling Dr. Young what to do. Okay? And Dr. Young was one of the greatest psychological minds, okay, to date. To date. Publicity? Why, of course. Millions of words. Money? Sure. It would take millions, naturally. The matter of money and publicity would be a cinch. Just a campaign of high-powered selling directed at our American tycoons, and editors would quickly settle the question, how could they resist when they saw what we had? Just watch us drunk. Actually, a few of us were pretty nearly as bad as that. No circus barker was ever so enthusiastic or extravagant in his cries as some of us were in the fall of 1937. I can recall having done a great deal of barking myself. Now, I really appreciate that they came back and admitted what they were. They said, we did this. Yes, we did. And I like how Bill and the first 100 continuously tell us how they did something incorrectly, that they had these thoughts too. So here we are again learning that when I try and take Alcoholics Anonymous and turn it into what its unoriginal purpose, it doesn't pan out. Yeah. All right. So says I did a lot of barking myself. Lord knows I have too. Right. Till I settled down a little bit. I suppose that promoters of those pioneering days had not been slowed down. Suppose our public relations policy had been left fully in their hands. Suppose that they had been able to raise millions to flood the country with AA propaganda and wild claims. We would not only have fallen out of with our best friends, religions, and medicine, we would surely have been discredited among the very people we wish most to reach, alcoholic men and women. Right? Yeah. In AA, we don't piss off our allies. Unlike Dion, who likes to stir the pot. Right? Leisure says, just keep it simple, right? Yeah. We have got to keep, I know Dion has to keep all this stuff very, very simple, straightforward, or I will turn it, because I make mountains out of molehills. And it doesn't matter if the molehill is good or bad, I'm going to make it that. We alcoholics are like that. Okay. I love it when people say, oh, I'm not a salesperson. If you are an alcoholic, you're a salesperson. You may not have done it for work, but yeah, you are. You're also a very good actor. All right. Much money would have meant a large staff of professional AA therapists or do-gooders. And promoters plus money would surely have meant ballyhoo, I don't know what that means, on every subject under the sun, from prohibition to communist Russia. Internally, if we still existed at all, we would have been torn apart by political controversy, religious dissension. It happened to the Washingtonians, who then has saved us thus far. Right? Now, thankfully, the Washingtonians taught us a lesson. They went into political alcoholic reform, and it decimated them. They were 200,000 strong. Okay? And at that time, they were bigger than AA, bigger than the Oxford group. Okay? But they made a mistake. So we learned from that, right? So the question before us at the present moment that he's given us is, who then has saved us thus far? The people who did the saving job then and who have continued to save us much trouble since are a class of individuals with whom most AAs are impatient. These people are the conservatives. They are the go slow. Think it over. Now, not conservatives, we think of it today. Okay, this is different. The go slow, think it over, let's not do that type. Not many of them are found among alcoholics, it's true. It's true, but it's certainly providential that we've always had such few around. Had a few such around. Often accused of being a drag on the progress, as they sometimes are, they're nevertheless a priceless asset. Yeah. They say, wait a minute, let's think about this. Let's ask the questions. Let's ask the tough questions here to see if we are getting to what we're really wanting to. Are we outside of our primary purpose? Why are we this? Why are we that, right? They bring the rest of us down out of the clouds. They make us face the realities of experience. They foresee dangers which most of us would blithely ignore. Sometimes their conservatism is overdone. They needlessly view with alarm for the good of the movement. Knowing that mere change is not necessarily progress, they instinctively resist change. They never wish to take an irrevocable step. They often shrink from those final decisions from which there's no retreat. They keep trouble out of making sure they never got into it. Which makes sense. If you're not in trouble, then it's going to be hard to get it. Then it's pretty easy to get out of it, right? Because you weren't in it. And here again, how many times do we see it, the extremes of alcoholism? But with these different experiences, with these different personalities and these extremes, if we bring them together, well, then we can find the balance in it. So it takes all of us. It takes all of us. The first discussion of our public relations in 1937 in Akron will always live in my memory. The promoters could think of nothing but getting the glad news of our recoveries to millions of alcoholics, overnight if possible. If this were done, God would do the rest, they said, but the conservatives did not think God did business that way. I'm going to have to agree with the conservatives here on this one, but only because I know what happens, right? It's kind of easy which side to pick when you know that it's already the correct side, right? The conservatives then proceeded with terrific impact to make the point that the man of Galilee had no press agent, no newspapers, no pamphlets, no books, nothing but the word of mouth to carry the spirit from person to person, from group to group. Why should we deviate from his example? We are about to substitute ballyhoo for personal demonstration. Were we to favor personal glorification in public, a place of quietness, humility, and anonymity? These were good questions. They made us promoters stop and think. They obliged to concede much to the conservatives on principle. We felt their counsel was that of perfection. It wasn't practical. The conservatives retorted that while promoters had built many a successful enterprise, they almost always bankrupt what they had built if they were left long enough in charge. All right. So we promoters, and I was one of them, came back with this. How, we inquired, could those go slow boys sleep nights when they reflected that after 3 long years we had produced but 3 small groups? That America had 1,000,000 alcoholics dying like flies, that within gunshot that of where we sat were probably hundreds who could get well if they only knew what we knew. And did alcoholics in California have to wait for relief to get there by word of mouth only? And wasn't there grave danger of our successful methods being badly distorted unless reduced to writing and put in book form? And if we made no written record of what we had found, might not columnists get funny and start to deadly ridicule? Caution, we agreed, ought to be observed, but observed by all means, but still we didn't need a book of our own, some publicity. All right. See how it's already getting confusing? That's what super promoters do. It starts to get confusing, all right? And there's no real direction because, when we're doing something, I know when I am super promoting, what is actually going on is I'm saying, look how high I can jump. Look at Dion, see what we can do. Look at us. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. And that's what we have to sacrifice. Yeah. All right. Such was the gist of the discussion, out of which came the decisions to publish the book Alcoholics Anonymous. This led to publicity to the establishment of our board of trustees. So what did they do? What did they publicize? The book. And they let the book do the talking for them, is the way that they did that. Okay. This led to publicity to the establishment of our board of trustees, the Alcoholic Foundation, and to the creation of the central office, now the General Service Office at New York, where alcoholics and their families can write for literature and direct help. Our rapid and seemingly healthy growth the past few years has been pretty well demonstrated the wisdom of these early decisions, right? So what would happen if they put out a newspaper and suddenly 5,000 people wanted their help? All right. Nowadays, AA will be able to handle that. There are only 40 people. Okay. 2 of these people are working the central office, Bill and another person. Now imagine you have the telegraph, you have the phone, and then you have snail mail available to you to answer all 5,000. Good luck. That was part of the reason we were too few yet for the overwhelming number of personal appeals. And that's not true anymore. That's why we were anonymous in the beginning, because we just weren't big enough to be able to handle helping everybody. right? And that has changed. Yay. Yay. Now there's plenty of us be able to help, right? If 5,000 people, and I can tell you right now, 5,000 people came into AA today, at least. But it's also Friday. So probably about 7,000 left. Yeah. It's the way it is. Now, a lot of those will come back. So what did we do? We published a book, and the book helps us, and it was able to carry the message. And what is the message? Well, it's the language of the heart, finding God, finding your higher power. That's the language of the heart. God is the language of the heart. The point is obvious. If these vital matters had been left entirely to the promoters like me, we would have surely have gone hog wild and spoiled everything. Yeah, Bill's admitting, hey, if we would have followed my plan, it wouldn't have worked. Love it. Had these affairs been left exclusive to the conservatives, it's probable that few of our present membership would have yet heard of AA. Thousands would have remained miserable. Many would have died. So either way, in these huge swings, right? So that's how literature has become a very big part of what we do. I have a ton of literature over here. I'm getting ready to clear it all out, take it down to Salvation Army. They're like, can you bring it down to us? We'd love to have it. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Yes, I will. I hope you're ready for me. Because if you think I'm just dropping off books, yeah, I do more than that. I love it. And I love Salvation Army. They're a great program. Right? Free. It's 100% free, man, for anybody that wants help. Anyone. Weird. It's how it should be. It's how it used to be. Yeah. All right. So it seems clear that sound policy can only be made by rubbing the conservatives and the promoters together. See, we need all of us. And we kind of talked about this in tradition too. The group conscious. It takes a couple of different minds. It takes the conservatives, it takes the super promoters, it takes all of us. Because somebody in that group is going to ask the hard question. Why? Why are we doing it? What are the intentions? Right? Their discussions, if free from personal ambitions and resentment, can be depended upon to produce the right answers for us. There is no other way. Yeah. Right? And I get that. Okay. Now there's something there. Right? And that's what I love about doing the group conscious with grassroots. We put our own ambitions and stuff aside. And it doesn't matter where we come from, what it is that we want, we all have the same intention. And sometimes we have to be reminded of that we stay sober and help the other alcoholic, the next alcoholic. That's our primary purpose. And that's what we need to stick to. If we stick to that, it's going to be pretty hard to go wrong. All right. Last paragraph. It's not very long. Having now shown our first step in public relations was taken, I would like, in forthcoming pieces, tell more of our recent experience in this field, with emphasis on the desirability of continued modesty, anonymity, and fidelity to one objective only, that of carrying AA to the alcoholic who wishes to recover. Right? Language of the heart. And we all speak the language of the heart. Every recovered alcoholic speaks the language of the heart. You can't help it. I was kind of hoping it covered the book itself a little bit more, but yeah, who knows what Bill's actually going to write about when you start reading it. So, all right, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. 24 minutes to meeting time here. So, but thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I love you. You know I do. Peace out. And let's remember, nobody ever, 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 ever